Ashwin is sort of the granddaddy of the education landscape in India.
I'm not a granddad.
What was Travel Guru?
So basically, aggregating hotels in India.
Oh, what later became OYO almost.
That's not how I would describe myself. Then we had Expedia nearly buy us out for nearly $100 million. In 2008, that was a very big number. Today, it's like nobody cares. We had signed, Expedia had signed, money was supposed to be wired the next day, and then Lehman Brothers collapsed. And then you really understand what entrepreneurship is. Many of us, you also to some extent, we all packed our bags and went abroad to study, right? US, UK, Australia. We said, look, let's flip that. Why don't we get the universities to come to India and teach students here, so the students can be here, get a very high quality education, and then contribute to India. Startup doesn't have to be profitable from the get-go, or even 3 to 5 years. But there is good burn and then there is bad burn.
This is going to be a great reel.
See, he's thinking reels.
I speak to my father about this a lot. As your size grows, your quality actually improves, right? Because you have more capital to play with. Then there comes a certain point, which by the way, globally for universities is around 50,000. From thereafter, if they try to grow the student base, the quality actually goes down. The first 5 years, you didn't raise like large rounds. And then COVID happened and you raised what, 800 million? Did that change you in any way? Change the DNA, change the company in any way?
There is a very funny thing now. To be a startup founder, you have to be a college dropout. The statistics don't actually back that up.
Believe me, like in education, you have like the best mind sitting here.
Best minds.
You know, this concept that education has to be 4 years, bachelor's has to be 4 years or 3 years, there has to be a certain number of hours. Where do you see that getting disrupted? I'm not saying, again, say universities will stay.
It's a great question, actually.
So this conversation is going to be very interesting. It's a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that we know each other so well and we have worked together very closely last few years that I don't know what new I can ask him. Right? So everything that I'll be asking him is for your benefit because I probably already know the answers. But Ashwin is sort of the granddaddy of the education landscape in India.
I'm not a granddad.
Huh?
I'm not a granddad.
The education landscape.
Even in that, I'm still fairly young, may not be as young as you, but...
No, but you know, Ashwin has had an incredible journey. He started a travel company before MBA, right? Or after MBA? After MBA, which was called Travel
Guru.
What was that about?
You know, so I was doing my MBA. There was an idea to start a travel company that I just did as part of the business plan contest in the business school. Never thought I would start it. And then a couple of my friends came and said, you know, we came runners up. And then a couple of my friends came and said, okay, here's $200,000, go start this. So when you're 27, you know, you don't really think through things too much. So I had no travel experience, no startup experience, no tech experience. And yet that's exactly what I did. So I packed my bags. I had an offer to work at McKinsey in New York City. The attraction actually was New York City more than McKinsey, but that was something that I took the bonus check, the signing bonus.
And so Travel Guru, what was that? Like, I know that was up and down. You saw an incredible up, and you saw an incredible down.
We raised Series A, Series B up to 2008. In fact, we had signed how many of you here, by the way, are entrepreneurs or hope to be entrepreneurs? Brilliant. Yeah, so this will resonate with most of you. So true entrepreneurial journey is ups and downs, ups and downs. I was speaking to Pratham also, I said, how are you? He said, yeah, good, bad, ugly. I said, okay, tell me the ugly first, because that's what you got to deal with more than, you know, you don't get time to enjoy the good. So Travel Good had its ups and downs. Series A was, you know, at that time, Westbridge, now Sequoia. Okay, now Peak, but Westbridge, then Sequoia. Then Series B was Battery Ventures. And then we had Expedia nearly buy us out for nearly $100 million. In 2008, that was a very big number. Today, it's like nobody cares. At that time, the biggest outcome for a venture-backed company in India was byju.com. I think you guys are too young for that. This is where I feel like a granddad.
Yeah, there you go.
But I was sold to eBay for 50 million. So 100 million was a big deal. And Pratham, we had signed, Expedia had signed, money was supposed to be wired the next day, and then Lehman Brothers collapsed. So you literally see that. And then because we were going to be sold, we said, okay, why do we need to raise capital? We're going to sell the business. So we had about 3 months of cash in the bank. And then you really understand what entrepreneurship is. So yeah. So I'm not dissuading any of you, but I'm just saying that ups and downs, that's part of life. I mean, you've seen it, I've seen it, everybody's seen it.
What was Travel Guru?
What was it about? Good question. I wish I knew. Sorry. Travel Guru. So we were basically aggregating hotels in India. I'm sure you know Make My Trip, Yatra, Clear Trip, etc. But they were aggregating flights. But flights at that time, there were only 3-4 airlines in India. So we said, look, what's the point here? So our main focus was to go to that unbranded hotel, 2-star, 3-star. It has 10 rooms, 15 rooms. It has no tech. So how do I allow real-time booking of those hotel rooms? Right?
What later became OYO almost.
So it's not how I would describe myself. but so the tech there was that we actually went to these hotels and we created this, we call it reservation platforms, that they could actually load their inventory onto our system. So anybody from across the world could see this small little hotel, let's call it Tunga Paradise. It's not paradise, but it's called Tunga Paradise. Has 15 rooms, and you can do the full revenue management, yield management for that, and book, and you'll get a confirmation immediately. At that time, you book. It was called book to request or something. So you'll book, and then 24 hours later, somebody will tell you this hotel was not there, but something else is there. So we were giving real time. So that was the real innovation. We had 4,000 hotels. The big hotels like the Taj, Oberoi, Marriott's was hardly 5% for us. So the real innovation, and that's what Expedia wanted, because they had the Taj, the Marriott's, etc. of the world. They didn't have this tech, this distribution. So that was what Travel Guru was. We eventually, a year later, sold to Travelocity, 2009. And then I think they've sold it to Yatra, and then...
Oh, very interesting. So now it's finally now in Delhi, in a way.
That's what you care about.
Yeah. So Ashwin also runs, or is part of the leadership team at Team.
Yes.
Tell us about Team a little bit, actually.
So Team is a Technology Entrepreneurs Association of Mumbai, right? And so about 3-4 years back, there were about 10 unicorns from Mumbai, that said like, damn, Bangalore is way ahead.
And Delhi's
Gurugram,
way ahead.
I'm coming. Gurugram is also ahead, not way ahead, ahead. And yet, if you think about kind of, where the big businesses are, the Tatas, the Reliance, the Godrej's, etc., it's all Mumbai. So why is the tech entrepreneurial system in Mumbai, that whole ecosystem, can we do something to build that? And so that's kind of why we all got together.
Yeah. Got it. So now you've sold to Travelocity 2009.
2009, so that's like how many years ago?
16 years, 17 years ago.
Don't count.
Yeah. So immediately after, I think you started the first version of, was it Eruditus or Emeritus at that time?
Eruditus.
The first version of Eruditus. So Ashwin's story is very interesting because it's offline to online to a little bit offline. Right? Mostly people went either offline to online or online to offline. But tell us about what Eruditus version 1 was like. I don't think people know about that at all.
So, after running a startup for 4-5 years, little wisdom comes to you also, right? So you really ask yourself what matters in life. And the truth about being a founder is, look, everybody starts a company believing it's going to be wildly successful. I haven't come across anybody who's ever pitched to me and saying, look, this is a very bad idea, I still want to do it. We all believe it's going to succeed, but then you realize that only 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100 perhaps actually succeed. So when that realization after 5-7 years of my first startup hit me, I said, okay, then what would I want to do with the rest of my life? Because if I start an idea because I think it's going to be successful and that's the only definition of what I would call success, then how do I know? And so I said, okay, let me answer this question differently. What would I want to spend the rest of my life, 10 years, 20 years doing? Right, where I would feel that I have real impact. There were 2 sectors, to be honest, that came to mind. One was education, the other was healthcare. Because I really felt that in these fields, you actually touch people's lives, right? You can have an impact. And then it so happened, Pratham, that I came across my co-founder Chaitanya. Chaitanya, you've met him, you know him. It's very different from me. And he actually is from education. He worked at INSEAD. And so it became a little easier for us to start something in education. And the idea was, at that point of time, many of us, Chaitanya, myself, you also to some extent, we all packed our bags and went abroad to study, right? US, UK, Australia. We said, look, let's flip that. Why don't we get the universities to come to India and teach students here so the students can be here, get a very high quality education and then contribute to India. So that was the model.
But it must not have been like this, that one day both of you are sitting and you're engineering this model. Right?
No, but most Harvard Business School cases start like this, one day. So it didn't happen one day. I mean,
what was the story? Like, how did you come to that conclusion that universities will come and students will come and study and,
So actually our first version of this was, we said, why do we need universities? And they're so
now we're
expensive, right? So there was, for example, there was Harvard Business School that was teaching a 4-day program in India. I'm saying 2010, charging 2 lakhs. He said, 2 lakhs, too expensive. So we got an INSEAD professor and I am Ahmedabad professor. We taught like a 10-day program for 50,000 rupees. And we said, look, this is true disruption. Only problem is about 15 people turned up in the class. And the Harvard classes used to have 80 and a wait list. So then we went back and we tried to understand what this is. And people said, no, the brand is very important. Right? And we know that if we come to Harvard, we know that it's good. You guys like, hello, we don't know this, right? So then we said, okay, why don't we actually then try and work with universities themselves because they bring the brand. But let's try and also help them adapt to the context a little more, because the standalone university education is a little dated, right? You've got to make it innovative.
So this is Harvard doing a 4-day executive education program in Bombay.
In Bombay.
Right, for people much older than their usual student base.
That's true.
Executives. And the first business model was around executive education, right?
Yes, but so Harvard Business School, though I went there and I tried my best to get them to do something with us, said no, but INSEAD said yes. So INSEAD had set up a campus in Singapore and they wanted to teach their EMBA. So they had a program in China with Tsinghua, which still runs, by the way. And the whole idea why INSEAD came to Singapore was to be closer to India and China. So while China, they had figured out with a partnership, in India, they wanted to figure out what to do. But the price point, all of that was very high. So we said, okay, let's come in here and let's help you do this EMBA in India. But in 2010, the regulation didn't allow degrees in India. Plus that EMBA was $90,000. And we said you have to be at $20,000 for people in India to feel that there's value, ROI, very important. So how do you do that? And so that was the innovation that we did. So few things, for example, the EMBA has a lot of electives. So you have 80 people in a class, but 10 people in an elective. And that's very expensive to deliver, right? The EMBA was, everything was face-to-face. We made about 25% online. We were the first, I think, companies in India to use telepresence. At that time, Zoom and all was not so great. So telepresence, where you come to a room and it's really kind of no latency, you interact with faculty. We did that across 6 cities in India, faculty in Singapore, etc. And we actually launched a program at $20,000. And we got 55 people and INSEAD was super, super excited. So
that was the first ever...
that was the first ever EMBA type program in India with a foreign university, business school. And it did very well. And by the way, 16 years later, it still runs. And today, many of the alumni from that program, in fact, the INSEAD head of the INSEAD India alumni chapter is from that program and so on and so forth. It's done really, really well. But we had to do a lot to make that work. For example, if INSEAD faculty come to India to teach, it's more expensive. So we had to also find adjunct faculty from other parts of the world who would come to India and teach. We had to do career services, soft skills, a bunch of interesting stuff. That in many ways, I think was, the important thing for us is that you learn all of this, right? When you're sitting in a classroom, working very closely with one school, one bunch of faculty, it really helped us understand our model much better.
Got it. And what were the following years like after this EMBA? You got more universities, more programs.
But it happened very organically, Pratham. So INSEAD and Wharton have a research alliance. So the INSEAD faculty went to Wharton and said good things about it. Look, at that time, we were 2 young kids. This again 2010. We had no funding. It was a team of 4 or 5 people. Our families were involved. When an ad was taken in a newspaper, my mobile number was on it. So it would ring all, at big times of the day. So, it is scrappy. That's how we all start. But we had no BD team. So we literally went, to the US, Europe, lived off a suitcase. You've done this a lot, so you know this. But anyway, so news went to Wharton and Wharton said, okay, since INSEAD is saying good things, let's try them. So Wharton became our second partner the next year. A year later, Wharton faculty went to MIT and MIT became our third partner. And then, there was a Columbia professor who downloaded one of the MIT brochures. Those days, every single lead came to my inbox. So I said, hey, if you want to know more about this program and how you can do something in India, you can write to me directly. You don't need to download. So he found it funny. So Columbia became a fourth partner. So till about 2015, we had about every year 1 partner, not funded. We were profitable, and we just built that business, phase-wise. That's it.
And the business was their executive programs in India. You will enable.
Correct. And by that time, we had also moved to offering some delivery in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Dubai, but predominantly India. I would say 80% of our students was India and 80%
How did you get those initial students? I mean, the brands spoke for themselves, I agree. But still, I think there would be some marketing required, right?
Pick up, they call, I would say, talk to them, Chaitanya would talk to them.
You would run an ad us time, but Instagram, Facebook wasn't as big, was it?
No, there was no Instagram only at that time. So
there was no Instagram, correct.
Print ads, little, but LinkedIn, I think Facebook must have been there.
Facebook was there.
Facebook must have been there. So, it was the print ads was a big part of it, which today is
it's gone.
is mostly gone.
So what, like Times of India ad?
Times of India, ET ad, Economic Times, all of that.
Okay, and then there'll be a phone number there, they'll call you.
Phone number, everybody calls. Without calling, nobody enrolls. Then you have to go meet them, because for them, $20,000 is a very big investment. We are thinking, oh, it's cheap compared to 90,000, but for them, 20,000 is a big investment.
More expensive than ISB, IIM at the time, right? Or almost as expensive.
No, I mean, for a part-time program, way more expensive.
Yeah, for a part-time program. True. So 2015 organically kept growing nice and well. What happened after?
So just before that, I always say, like most of you, I mean, like you said, you all raise your hands, you're entrepreneurs, right? The skill of an entrepreneur is to find new S-curves, right? You smell weak signals and you say, okay, I can amplify this, right? So in 2013, Coursera launched, and 2014, edX launched. And we were like, damn, if MIT and Harvard decide to put their programs online, what are we doing classroom for? We have to be online, right? So that was a weak signal, right? And we said, okay, let's go and talk to our schools, and we should do online. So we went back to Wharton, INSEAD, Columbia, MIT, Dartmouth. 3 of them said yes, Dartmouth, MIT, and Columbia. And so in 2015, we launched our first online program.
So why could they not do it themselves? They had the brand.
They had the answer already.
I know, that's why. I know the answer. I mean, this interview will not make any sense then.
Okay.
But why? Like, I mean, genuinely, why did Dartmouth need you when Dartmouth already gets a billion applications?
So look, what are universities really good at? Really good at teaching and research. Are they really interested in building tech platforms to enroll students from 80 plus countries, the LMS, the experience around that, spending millions of dollars on marketing, B2C, B2B footprint? It's not core to them, right? But the teaching of that online program is core to them. But the enrollment, the tech, all of that, that's non-core, right? So one of the biggest things that these universities have decided that we don't want to focus on the non-core, we will partner. But not every university decides that. There are some, for example, Stanford, for a very long time said, I will do all of this myself. So universities typically have 2-3 questions to answer, right? Do I want to be online? By the way, before COVID, that was actually a question that universities would ask, because they would say that what I teach in the classroom, I can't teach online. Today, nobody's asking that question, luckily. Second, the question is, okay, if I want to be online, right, do I do it myself or do I partner with somebody? And then if I partner with somebody, is it Eruditus or is it somebody else, right? And so for very many of them, partnering with somebody actually is less risky, right? Because somebody else is putting up the capital, somebody else is doing all of the hard work. You don't have to, we are now a team of 2,000 plus people, right? Universities can't hire that many. Their hiring approval takes time. You need all of that tech. So for them, it's much easier to partner. And that's why they chose to partner. But actually in 2015, when going back to this, they were in the first phase. Should I go online or not was the question in their mind. Right? It was not like with who I want to go online. And the question really was, can we teach with the same efficacy online that we're teaching in the class? And again, some of you would wonder, does that really make sense anymore today? Today, actually, we have data to show that the rating in online is the same as the rating that you get in class. But in 2015, we had no data. So we just had to tell a story. Honestly, it was storytelling, because we ourselves never created an online course before this.
Correct.
Right? But we got 3 universities to say yes. Actually, one university said yes quickly, which was Dartmouth Tuck. They were a little smaller, so they were a little more open. And there was a professor there called Vijay Govindarajan who teaches innovation. So he says, okay, look, I'll innovate. I'll be the first person to do this. It's actually a very interesting way he teaches. I don't know if you ever read his book. It's called The 3-Box Solution. It's brilliant. Read it. Every entrepreneur should read that. In fact, there are 3 books I would recommend. I'll go off topic.
Please.
One is Disciplined Entrepreneurship. It's by an MIT professor, Bill Ollett. Fantastic way, 28 steps to figure out whether your idea has any merit. Second is Founder's Dilemma. Noam Wasserman, Harvard Business School faculty, of should you start up, when should you start up, when do you commit, do you need a co-founder, how do you split equity? For example, everybody believes co-founder should have 50-50. Why? A vesting schedule, bunch of that. And then this 3-box solution, which is like, how do you really think of a business, right? All of us are very much focused on box one. Box one is today. But by the way, this guy is the best living example of box three, right? So you started, I mean, you already had LPU, but then you started Masters Union, that was box one. Then you come up with this weird idea, box three, I want to do something called Tetr. You know, Tetr is very different. One is mostly India, the other one is now mostly global, and the format also is so very different, right? And that's box three. Box three is about something that in the future will be very successful, but today it's a weak signal, right? Do you know what I mean? So for example, for us, online in 2015 was a weak signal. Yes, Coursera, edX had come, but how do we know it's going to be very big? Today, every year we do about 250,000 students online. It's 98% of what we did. But in 2015, 100% of our business was offline, and we were making an investment in something that we thought would be big, but we didn't know. So that's box three. Right? It has future potential, but you don't know. Box two is about challenging assumptions. By the way, has anybody heard of the Fosbury flop?
Tell us.
Okay, so if I asked, so have you, I don't know when you guys have you done a high jump ever? If I would ask you to do a high jump, how would you jump? You would come running? You go round, round, round? No, you'll come running, right? You won't go round, round, round. How would you do it? Somebody?
Like you do like a hurdles, like jumps forward, yeah.
The hurdling, perfect, that's the exact word actually. The hurdling motion. You come and you'll jump with your feet and land on your feet, right? So till about the 1940s, 50s, that's how everybody did. That's box one. That's how everybody would do high jump. So this guy, I think his name was Dick Fosbury. He came and said, I will actually jump backwards. My head will cross the bar first and I will then land on my feet. Just think about it for a moment. How absurd does that sound? If we try to do that, we'll break our spine or some bones, right? So you'll come running, turn, your head will go above. But that he realized lowers your center of gravity. And today the world and Olympic record for high jump is the Fosbury flop. That's box three. And of course, it took some time for that to happen, and a whole innovation ecosystem had to be built. The sand pit gave way for a proper foam pit that you could land on, and so on and so forth. Right? So that's box three, but nobody else is doing it. You thought of it, and you did it, and then that becomes the norm. And then you have to think about your next box three. But the big part of box three is box two. You have to challenge assumptions. You have to challenge that your feet have to go first. You have to even challenge the fact that you can actually jump with your head backwards. You're not even seeing that bar when you jump. So for us, 2015, when we went online, was a box three movement. But you know, Pratham, we were an India-based startup. Suddenly we realized that for MIT, Dartmouth, Columbia, we got students from across the world. Today, 70% of our students are from outside of India. So how do you build a leadership team? How do you build go-to-market in Latin America? Of course, you're doing a lot of this as well, so you're just nodding. But how do you do all of that? That was the fun part of it, and that was what online did to us.
So that's 2015 to 2025. Those 10 years.
I would say 2015, then to 2020, and then COVID happened. And then something else happened because of that. And then, of course, we still do online. But today, online is box one for us. What was box three has now become box one.
Almost going to see a loop, I feel like.
Yeah, it's all a circle, right?
It's all a circle, right? So
we'll come to that.
We'll come to the circle. But, you know, during those 5-10 years, that journey of online really sort of going up, you had companies like 2U in the US that also went up like this around the same time as you were. And they couldn't sustain for whatever reason, right? As a business or as a stock.
They didn't have great founders.
No, that is one for sure. But what else? Did that make you question your assumptions at that time? What is happening in the market? They're not making money, this, that.
Yes and no. Actually, I would say no. Because, you know, have any of you watched Rajinikanth movies? You understand Tamil? There's a fantastic dialogue he's got. It's in Tamil though. He says, Yen Vali, Tani Vali. Which is my way is a unique way. I don't care what others do. I'll do what I'm doing, right? So if you have that mentality, and as most entrepreneurs, you have to have conviction in what you do. You don't care about what others do. By the 2U at one stage came, they wanted to buy us. We said no, we said we are happy with what we want to do. But when you're small, yes, there are companies, 2U, Coursera, that we admired. And we said, wow, they're doing such a fantastic job. Today, I would say we are doing a great job and we'll continue to do what we want to do. Many reasons why these companies haven't done well, etc. I'll tell you one thing that is different from them and from us. And I said this jokingly, we are founder driven. Meaning the founders still own a majority of the company. I am not thinking about selling this company in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years and then retiring or doing something. I am thinking 10 years from now. And as you all think about starting up, right? Very often people are attracted to startups because you think I'll start something today, I'll sell something tomorrow, I'll make money, I'll retire on a beach with a boat and I'll do something. Organic farming, fishing, whatever it is you guys want to do. That's the worst reason to start up. Right? Start up because you're really solving a problem that you feel passionate about. Not that somebody else feels passionate about, that you feel passionate about. And the second thing is think long term. Think about 10 years. Think about building an enduring company. Right? And only if you're vested, only if you're a founder with significant equity, will you think long term. Right? I mean, today many Indian startups also, the founders are so diluted. I wonder how long term they're thinking. Right? So we think very long term. So if you think about our new initiative of bringing foreign universities to India, it's a 10, 20, 30-year play.
Yeah, easy.
Right? I mean, these things don't get built. I mean, again, I'm preaching to the preacher. These things don't get built overnight. But we have that vision of saying, hey, we want to do something that is enduring. So I think that perhaps was the difference. Those companies had professional CEOs. And maybe, look, again, each company has its own journey. So let me not say too much about them.
Got it. And you said something happened in COVID.
A lot's happened in COVID.
What happened with you?
So in COVID, I'm sure all of you saw that everything went online. And suddenly what happened is that investors started believing is that the future of learning is online. And you started seeing the amount of funding that edtech companies raised in 20 and 21, including, by the way, us. So we are also somewhat
You're like 50% of that.
No, byju was about 50% of
okay,
that.
Got it.
We were smaller.
Like 20% of that. Yeah.
Anyway. So the amount of funding that was raised, and one would ask, did you really need all of that money? So, a lot of funding was raised because valuation went crazy. And then you went and acquired companies and, you'd have to ask yourselves about whether all of that, some of those companies actually ended up very badly that did this. But the thing that happened, I think, Pratham, is that people believe that whether it was K-12, test prep, higher ed, everything is online.
Everything is going on.
And, funding was great. So I'm glad we raised capital, etc. But after COVID, people have realized that that's actually not true. That was an aberration. Right? The world is online as well as classroom, as well as blended. In fact, some sectors like K-12 have gone completely back to offline. Test prep, higher ed is still good. And so a big reset has happened. And as a consequence of that, I think the whole space in edtech, there were many examples, one or two prominent ones. In India, at least, the edtech space got a very bad name. And unfortunately, then there was a correction in the other direction. The valuation suddenly fell off and people were like, no, I won't do any investing in edtech, etc. So you see those cycles. But again, if you think long term, then it comes and it goes. But you continue to build, you can continue to follow your conviction. And at the end of it, you will still have an enduring, successful company.
No, so, till 2015, from 2009 to 15, 6 years, you were running this company, bootstrapped. You had all these brands.
I always tell our investors, till we raised investor money, we were profitable. After that, I don't know what happened. No, we're profitable again now.
I mean, technically speaking, if you're not spending in CapEx, you will become unprofitable, right? If you raise that money.
Well, I think, look,
accounting-wise.
So the way I can maybe answer this is to say, a startup doesn't have to be profitable from the get-go, or even 3 to 5 years. But there is good burn and then there is bad burn, right? What are you saying?
This is going to be a great reel. I'm excited for this.
No, but see, he's thinking reels. I think I'm having a serious conversation. He's having reels. But there is good burn and there is bad burn, right? So what is good burn? So, if you're building product, if you're getting into a new market, so let's say we're going into the US market, we're building an enterprise sales team to target companies, and we're losing money because the first 2-3 years, those sellers will not be productive. But I'm building a capability. That's good burn. I think investors today appreciate that, they understand that there's capital for that. What is bad burn? In our space, for example, students may do one course, but they may not come back to do more courses, right? Especially if it's a slightly longer term course. So if you just keep spending money on marketing to attract the N+1th customer, right? So your marketing efficiency is going like this. But you still do that just to show top line growth. So then you can show valuation, raise more money. That is bad burn, right? So you don't want to do that. So look, if
you're getting a customer but not building a capability.
Let's say your gross margin is 50%, right? But your CAC is 70%. Does that customer make sense? No. If your gross margin is 50%, anything above 25% CAC, you should not be putting money into that. But if I'm chasing valuation, right? That is great burn. I'll keep burning somebody's money, take somebody else's money, then take somebody else's money. But eventually, that cycle will come to a stop. So at 2022, 23, post-COVID, people were like, what's the unit economics, right? So that's bad burn. So just to be clear, what I'm saying is that it's not bad to burn money. I mean, you raise money from investors because you want to grow faster than you can otherwise grow organically, right? So today we would not be as successful. This is a question that, Chet and I, my co-founder and I, we have. And I think many startups, you also have been through this process. You have to ask yourself, right? I mean, do you want to raise external capital? Because with external capital comes money and fuel for growth, but also comes responsibility. Those investors need exits, right? And you have more people now telling you what to do, and that's good, and there's bad to that as well, right? So you have to be very clear you want to raise capital, but if we hadn't raised capital, we couldn't have scaled, right? I mean, we are now working with about 85 universities. We are working with about 20 universities in Latin America, Southeast Asia, B2B, B2C, building campuses. If we hadn't raised capital, there's no chance that we'll be having this conversation. You would not have even invited me.
No.
Yeah.
No, I disagree.
No, I'm saying that not because I'm saying had we not raised capital, we'd been a very small operation. And by the way, just the other point I would say, I believe in education, scale is important to have impact. And I know we've spoken about this, right? So you can teach 30 students very high quality, high touch in a classroom, and that is impact. But the way I think about the world is that so many people around the world need access to education that 30 is not moving the needle. Right? Why can't that be 3,000? Why can't that be 300,000? And still maintain quality? And correct. I think one thing common is both of us as founders challenge that assumption that if you have more numbers, quality is compromised, right? But for that, we needed capital. And so I think we did the right thing at the right time to raise capital and expand.
No, I think I speak to my father about this a lot. I think it's like a U-shaped curve or an N-shaped curve, where as your size grows, your quality actually improves, right? Because you have more capital to play with. You can get better faculty, which you cannot get at 30 students. At 300 students, it starts making sense to invest in a high quality faculty or a high quality campus. Then there comes a certain point, which by the way, globally for universities is around 50,000.
15,000?
50,000,
wow.
Right? So Ohio State or an NYU or an LPU, they all sort of max out at this 50,000, and from thereafter, if they try to grow the student base, the quality actually goes down.
Interesting.
Right? So
and why is that?
I think when you buy land or when you rent land or buildings, etc., beyond a certain point, the operations of it all start bordering that of a city.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Till 50,000, you can still be a campus. Beyond 50,000, you become a constituency. And what happens is when you have 50,000 students, just through law of large numbers, you're going to have one suicide a year. Law of large numbers. In fact, it's going to be much lesser than the Indian national average if you think about it. If you go to 1 lakh students, that makes it 2 or 3 suicides a year. Right? And a suicide or some accident like that is incredibly devastating to a university as a brand, as an institution. Right? So at 50,000, a lot of these things, if you cross 50,000, they come into play. Politics comes into play because now you have political power in that city, so there'll be enough enemies that will grow sort of. Right? And so just globally speaking, 50,000 has been the number, like 60,000 maybe, and then you have universities in Iran, for example, that have 200,000 students in one campus. I think that's an aberration.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah, so that curve. But let's come back to you. Now, you raised capital. I think your first round was Bertelsmann.
No, actually, our first round was not Bertelsmann. So we went in 2015 to about 20 VCs and said, look, we have a great business. It's 10 million. It's profitable. We own 100% of this. So give us money. So I got asked this very funny question by a fund saying, are you a promoter or are you a founder? Okay, I don't know if you get asked this question at all. We have actually both.
Some banks, yeah.
So I was like, what does that mean? It's like, you've not raised any capital, you're not diluted, you're owning all of the company, you're a promoter. You don't have the founder mindset. I was thinking it's a profitable company, growing well. Dude, I'm the best founder on earth. So 20 of these VCs said no. But 1 or 2 gave good feedback. One of them was Bertelsmann. And they said, look, you're a classroom business. You can't scale beyond a point. Right? So come back to me with something that's more scalable, more online perhaps, and then we'll be happy to fund you. So, and of course, we were trying to tell them we are raising money to build online. Because unlike classroom, in online, I have to build the tech. I need the marketing money to spend upfront. So I need the capital. But very often you realize that VCs are not actually risk-taking. They actually would like to take least risk as possible. But anyway, so what do you do when VCs don't fund you? That you call those same friends in Harvard Business School who funded you in Travel Guru. They were still friends, luckily. So he said, look, I got a new business. You still like me. So will you fund me? So they still wrote me a check. And then we had a few more people added on to that because the network
first
had grown.
angel network.
It was an angel round. And then we built online. And then we went back to these VCs and Bertelsmann said, wow, you actually did what you said you would do. And then that became our first institutional round in 2016.
That's another thing we have in common, which is that I went to Bertelsmann first and it did not work the first time. The second time...
This seems to have modus operandi. Right?
Yeah,
this is what they do to all founders.
That's what Pankaj does. No, but an incredible team to work with and we have had a great time. We are also now, we raised our first round from Bertelsmann.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And you.
Yes, thank you.
Has the money been wired? This is something to check out.
It's on its way.
So, and then, the first 5 years, you didn't raise like large rounds, like those 100, 200, $500 million rounds. It was okay. And then COVID happened and you raised what, 800 million? Something crazy like that, 600 million?
You're confusing me with byju.
No, it was something like that only, 250 million.
Okay, no, it's okay. So yes, in Bertelsmann, our raise was 8 million.
8 million.
And then Sequoia, we raised, I think 40 million. So some of these raises, there's primary and there's secondary as well. So I'll just give you the primary amounts, 30 million. Then Chan Zuckerberg, which we were very interested in, that was again the 50 million raise. And in 21, we raised 460 million.
Similar zip code. And that was large PE investors.
That was SoftBank, Accel, Prosus, and a few others.
And did that change you in any way? Change the DNA? Change the company in any way?
In hindsight, we perhaps should not have raised so much capital. We went and did M&A. But at that time, money was available. Very often, we get caught up in this neighbor syndrome, right? You see people around you, and they're doing a bunch of stuff. And it's like, oh, we should also be doing this.
The neighbors in Bangalore.
Yeah, Gurugram also. Some. No? I don't want to take names. Baad mein.
Okay.
But even across the world, right? So look, easy money. Okay, I shouldn't say easy money. This might go to my investor also. It was not that easy. But you got to be careful about raising too much capital because then you have to spend it. And then, it's very difficult. If you raise 450 million and you've sold your investors a dream of a certain growth, then you suddenly realize that in the next 6 months, you have to hire 1,000 people. But can you hire 1,000 people in 6 months? The same quality in which if you were earlier hiring 100 people in the same 6 months, right? So you obviously make compromises, etc. So in hindsight, maybe we raised too much. Maybe we should just focus a little bit more on our core and continue to grow, continue to raise some capital. But again, you learn from your mistakes, I suppose, and that was a learning experience. I never thought I'd be saying after raising so much money that I learned from my mistakes, but that's the point.
The two companies that you acquired, I think you acquired more than two. I remember two.
I also remember two.
Okay, only two, then both of us are the same thing. Maybe there were a few that you never told us about, Okay, so two. There was one which was a summer camp company, which I think is an incredible idea. And the other one was another exec education company in Latin America.
In Spain and Latin America.
Spain and Latin America. So how did you decide to get onto these two specifically?
So one was easy actually. The company called Global Alumni that does something very similar to what we were doing, but they were doing it in Spanish predominantly, Spanish, Portuguese, a little bit in Italian. And so we saw it as an extension of our capability that we could go to our schools and say, look, apart from English, we can still provide you options in other languages. So today, for example, Pratham, about 22% of our students are enrolled in languages other than English.
So Chinese and Spanish?
Spanish is the biggest one, then Portuguese and Mandarin, Chinese. So that was a capability that we got from an acquisition. So that was a good one to do. The edtech one, they provide STEM education to young adults, so maybe teenagers, at university campuses. Now, the reason that I say that was perhaps 50-50 whether we should have done it is during COVID, that entire business went online and we just loved it because we thought of this as online and we can scale it. But
this could be Eruditus for high school.
For high school and many of the universities that we're already working with, it's STEM education. And end of the day also, I think I was very excited by the fact that this is mission oriented, right? You're teaching AI, you're teaching Roblox, etc. for teenagers. Like this is the future. 40% of the students were girls. So you want more girls in coding and tech and all of that. It's fantastic, great team, all of that. And they were doing this for about 20 years. But the timing was wrong because we bought them in 2021 and they were doing completely online. And that was our hypothesis. And after COVID happened, that business that was online went to nearly zero. It's gone back to being a summer camp business.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't necessarily fit. I mean, it's still a very good business. It's profitable. It's growing. All of that. But the question is, does it fit well with what we are trying to do? We still want to build scale and all of that. So again, that's a hypothesis that we had that perhaps didn't play out.
No, I mean, we look up to it a lot, by the way, and we learn a lot from edtech. And maybe you paid too much. Is that what you're trying to say?
That's also true.
No, but I think now it will make sense with your new, with the universities coming to India. And I'm sure you'll take those universities elsewhere as well. And so now you have that vertical integration, right, with schools.
But again, the question is, I think what we have also realized in our journey is what are we good at, right? And I think we understand higher education, right? And there's enough room to do things in higher education. So, we should just focus on what we are good at and not get distracted. Again, going back to 2021, K-12 multiples were like 10 times revenue. Higher ed was like 5 to 6. So that kind of thinking when you apply, so I should be in the K-12 space is a very rapt, completely illogical, but that was 21.
And I mean, did you also make a pitch for White Hat Junior?
Damn, this guy knows too much.
That's a question.
No, I didn't make a pitch for White Hat Junior, but the bankers were out there and we looked at it, but we passed.
So, in hindsight?
Very good, we passed, no?
And then the large round happened, you did this, and then finally a very new avatar you have assumed now. If someone follows him on LinkedIn, your posts have completely changed.
You just told me they're very boring.
They are very boring.
So that's changed.
So earlier you used to be a little bit more opinionated. Now you started working with the Maharashtra government and Indian government and UGC, and now suddenly you've become very straight-jacketed.
Yeah.
But so, more seriously, the Indian government changed the regulation a little bit. They made it more easy for international universities to come to India and set up campuses. And you became sort of the messiah almost of these universities, right? You're the one who is responsible for 90% of that market share now, right? Or 80%.
So look, I think for the first time, actually, after speaking about it for decades, the Indian government has said top 500 ranked, so not everybody, top 500 ranked foreign universities can set up a branch campus in India. And the good thing about the regulation is that you have to give the same degree that you give back home. So it's not the Indian entity that's giving you a degree, it's the same entity that's back home. We have about 15 or 16 such universities. 4 or 5 have gone to GIFT. There are about 12 that are coming within Mumbai, Bangalore, Gurugram, Noida, wherever else. And I think there'll be more and some higher quality ones and some good ones as well. So the University of New South Wales, top 20 ranked in the world, Bristol, which is top 50, Liverpool, Aberdeen, which was founded in 1495 or something, like 525 years old, and so on and so forth. Right? So it's very exciting for us. And Pratham, we never defined ourselves as online or edtech. These were just tags that got put on us because we started off as India and classroom. If you remember what I was saying, that we wanted to do the INSEAD EMBA in India, but degrees were not allowed in 2010. So when this regulation actually allowed it, we were like, oh, it's taken some time, but this is kind of what we wanted to do. Because our mission is very simple. We want to make high quality education accessible. I gave you this example of us packing our bags and going abroad. But if you think about if foreign universities set up campuses here and our kids or friends or whatever can study there, that's the best of both worlds, right? So we really 2 years back said, look, why can't the Eruditus group be a serious partner to these universities? Because the truth is that they will all need a partner. Most of them will need a partner. I mean, India, marketing, ops, real estate, government, all of that. There's a lot of logistics and operations to do. So they will need a partner. So why can't we be that partner? And so that's what kind of led to what we are doing. We're working with about 7 universities now, and we'll see where that goes. And I'm super excited about it because it goes back to my mission thing of access, right?
So online was the first medium, and India is sort of the second medium that's sort of playing around in.
I mean, India is today for us, if you ask me, and you know this, it's the most exciting place to be for many things, but definitely for higher education, or definitely for education, I would say, right? So in our online business, 70% is non-Indian students, 30% is Indian students. So in the foreign campus, where part of what we're doing, the ability to engage more with Indian students is very exciting.
Got it. And so how do you see now this specific business, which is India focused, bringing international universities to India, sort of grow. What do you think this will look like 5 to 10 years from now?
Very difficult to say. But let me maybe see, look, our first batch is starting September 26. Each university will get about 200 students approximately. So these are small numbers. But actually, maybe, Pratham, we should look 10, 15 years from now. Because, universities, as you know, they are slow moving. And so change happens over a period of time. What is my hope? My hope is that, look, one, that there will be some of the Cambridge, Oxford, MITs, Harvard, Berkeleys of the world, some of them will come, right, over the next 4 or 5 years, maybe. We know that some of them are looking at India. How serious, we'll have to see. But those who come, my hope is that that they bring the same quality of education, that Indian students today maybe have not been exposed to that quality, where there's, say 40, 50% foreign faculty, then of course Indian faculty, that there's mobility both ways between campuses. So students from there can come here for a semester, students from here can go there for a semester, that there's actually global employment opportunities. For example, if there's a business plan contest, that the students in India can participate in the same thing. I'll give you an example of Bristol, right? Bristol has made a $1 billion £1 billion investment in an AI supercomputer. It's the fastest supercomputer in any university in the world. Now, students in their Mumbai campus through the cloud will have access to that computing. Right? So those are all the kind of things that get us excited. The one other thing I would say is that, of course, the great universities are fantastic in teaching, but they're also really good in research. So, we were talking about how we've raised 500 million funding, etc. Maybe the next 10 years, the Eruditus group for our partner universities can raise 500 million or $1 billion in research, right? It's philanthropic money. It'll go to a Section 8 not-for-profit company. It doesn't matter. But for me, that ability of actually generating some original IP out of India, right, through these universities is actually very exciting. So look, I don't know 10, 15 years what will happen, but these are some of the themes that resonate.
Got it. And is it easy to work with these?
And Pratham is going like, yeah, you wish. That ain't happening.
No, see, the thing with universities is that I think the first 5 years are very critical. I think that's when you're setting up the foundation. And after that, some compounding starts to kick in. Right? But those first 5 years, you have to really treat it like a baby, and you have to take care of every little aspect of it. And even though these universities have brands, like 500-year-old brand names, when they're setting up a new campus in a new market, where they're essentially as good as new, then that first 5 years are going to be super critical. That's why I asked you the first 5 years. But I think the model that you have, and maybe this is not necessarily for public, but just for the audience here, the model that you have, which is to bring in almost an entrepreneur figure, give them considerable amount of equity and let them build it with you. That model is very interesting. How did you come to that model?
With the foreign universities, you're saying?
With the foreign universities and other companies also, where you've brought in, I think, entrepreneurs to run certain parts of the business.
Yeah, look, I think end of the day, my view really is that entrepreneurs, founders, if you have a founder's mindset, you can do 10x thinking, you can build things that are far larger than a CEO mindset, right? I've said this before also when you asked me about other companies. So in anything that we do, even if it's if it's a business unit within the company, we want people to believe that they have ownership, they can make the decisions, and only if something goes really wrong that I have to get involved. Now, when you think about universities, now that's not exactly how they think. They have committees, then they have some more committees, and then they have a senate, governing body, etc. So over time, they are very deliberate. Again, they're thinking very long term, but they're also slow. So one of the roles that we as Eruditus, being a partner for some of these universities that we want to play, is to try and make them more entrepreneurial. So if they are here, we are here to try to get us closer. Now, what you're doing is a similar thing, but in a different way, right? You're running your own thing at Masters Union Tetr, so it's very entrepreneurial. I mean, your team is here; they can make decisions like this, and things move very fast. But then you control everything. So for us, it's a partnership model, right? So we have to kind of bring them to the center. That would be a role that we would play. But end of the day, they still have to teach high quality. The outcomes still have to be there. The curriculum is still their curriculum. But how can we infuse that with more AI, with more practicum stuff? And by the way, some of them already get it. So take Illinois Tech. They already have a co-op model, which if you remember Northeastern. So you can study 3 days in a week at the campus, and 2 days you actually work somewhere else. And that work experience counts as your credit to your grade. Right? So we would also love for some of those models to come in. And look, I've always said this, Pratham, and maybe you disagree with me. I don't see myself as somebody trying to disrupt universities. I think we're trying to actually enable them to do more in a digital age. So ours is a partnership model, and that's the role that we think we'll play.
Got it. No, it makes sense, but like, still, do you get frustrated that they move so slow and they have like all these regulations and committees, and to start a new program, it has to go all the way up and then all the way down?
So yeah, it slows you down, but you get used to it, no? And the question is, you don't then get, so again, like you said, you got to meet this way. You can't slow down completely to their pace. You can't accept that. At the same time, you can't expect them to be at your pace because the structure itself is different, right? The way they think about brand, right? A brand that's built over 500 years would obviously think very differently than, a 15-year brand. In fact, it's funny, when we say long-term planning, we initially thought 5 years. They're thinking 30 years. So, but long-term planning, 30 years on Excel, what does it mean? So then you do 10 years. So we found a very nice way to meet them in the middle.
And how are you thinking about now, we're taking 10, 15, 20 years bets. What about AI in education? My take is that I don't see nearly enough startup energy going after AI applied to education almost at all. Right? No interesting use cases have come up. So anything that you're working on, anything that you're excited about, how do you see that 15, 20 years from now?
Actually, it's an interesting question. I think education, you're absolutely right. It is one of those industries which adopts change slower. We have a term for this called clock speed, the rate at which an industry innovates. It actually is a very slow clock speed industry. I know you said things about it.
If at all, I mean.
Well, there's some people who are trying to move that. Look, the way we are using AI today is in our online courses, for example, now every course nearly has an AI tutor. Right? That's one. That's the easy part. Many people have AI tutors, but our AI tutor is contextualized to the content of that course. So you can be going through a course and say, how does this apply to my industry? And the tutor will actually give you context, which is unlike, say, some of the broader AI tools. The second is we want to actually, through AI, create role plays and simulations, again, for that specific course. So let's say it's a negotiations course. And you want to say, like, tomorrow I'm going to negotiate for a hike with my boss. It'll actually start saying, role play saying, I'm your boss, okay, ask me the question. And then it'll play, but it'll link that role play to content in the course. So that it'll ask you saying, hey, have you created scarcity value? No, okay, maybe if you rephrase this statement, then you would have created scarcity value. So, but we're very early, and I think as AI gets better and better, we'll also start improving it. You have some very good examples also. Maybe you should share that of how you're using AI.
I've gotten hate.
Maybe they get scared.
But they know.
But that's the thing with any new technology, right? There'll be some use cases that will make us uncomfortable, but that's okay. We will learn from that experience.
Like what online did to offline, it didn't do anything to offline. It added a new dimension altogether. Offline still continued. Do you think that kind of disruption, are we in that 2015 online to you moment also with regards to AI, where there is something to be unlocked in a big way, not in a small fringe way, which we are discussing? Okay, so simulation kara diya.
When it comes to education, people ask me this question, which part of education will get changed? Do you think that AI can teach a course completely by itself? I still feel that a teacher, faculty, professor, instructor is still valuable. But a lot of the stuff that they may be delivering in a unidimensional way can be done otherwise, right? Today, the impact of AI is more on grading. Actually, you don't need, the faculty, by the way, hate grading. I'm sure you've seen this as well. But the AI grading is actually phenomenal. In fact, AI grading removes biases. If you're the 100th assignment I'm grading in a day, I'm tired, right? AI is not tired. So there are actually some use cases where AI actually does much better. Contextualization of content, languages, etc. So I think those are the areas that we will see sooner. Is it going to replace some of the traditional models? I'm not fully sure. But there will be changes in the way, the way you mix online and you mix offline. For example, a lot of us are doing flipped classroom, right? Earlier we all spoke about it. So it's not like classroom has gone away, online is everything. But you'll find this hybrid kind of modes emerging more.
Now, thinking even long term, even further long term, this concept that education has to be 4 years, bachelor's has to be 4 years or 3 years, has to be a certain amount of credits, it has to be a certain number of hours in the classroom. All of that, you really have a bird's eye view. You see how the universities are thinking, you see how the government is thinking, and you see how the edtech industry is thinking. You have that unique viewpoint. Where do you see that getting disrupted? I'm not saying, again, I'll say universities will stay, but how they function fundamentally, 4 years, 2 years, masters, bachelors.
It's a great question, actually. Actually, if you think about it, you should be able to unbundle that, right? So somebody should just come and say, look, I want to do 6 months, 1 year. I don't care for a degree, right? I'm learning a skill. That's all I need. In fact, it's interesting, but in India, at least, we are now moving from a 3-year to a 4-year undergrad. And I would think that most students will say the faster I can go and start working or start my own company, it would actually be faster, right? I would actually suspect that many people might not even want to do a master's. I've learned enough, I can go and start. Many people will actually say that I don't even need to do a bachelor's, right? It's possible. But at the same time, I think what a bachelor's program does is gives you a well-rounded exposure.
Well, that's what a university says. I don't want to hear that from you.
But if I believe that, I'll tell you no.
No, but truly though.
But it does. It does. So
it has to be 4 years. It has to be 3 years.
No, it doesn't have to be 3 years, 4 years. I never said that. I said, but what a bachelor's does is you can have an associate degree for 2 years also. You can innovate on this. See, I'll give you an example of myself. When I went to Harvard Business School, I thought I'm going to finish my MBA and go join McKinsey and work. I never thought I would be an entrepreneur. But what did that environment do? I had, for example, Alexander Samwer, who started Rocket Internet. I had Azim Premji's son, Rishad Premji, as a classmate. So these people had started and sold companies before coming to business school. And of course, I had those friends who wrote me an angel check as well. So my learning was not just what I learned in the classroom. I very often say that the value of an education, it's intellectual capital plus brand capital plus social network capital equals career capital, right? So the confidence I got to be an entrepreneur, right? It came up because I did my MBA at Harvard Business School, right? Now, what was the ROI of that? I can't put a number to it.
It's priceless.
But like I said, I won't be sitting here with you if I didn't go to Harvard Business School, right? Now, should that MBA be 2 years, 1 year? We can debate it. But that value of that experience, that exposure.
Value of the experience, I'm with you on that. I mean, that's why we are also investing so much.
But we can debate it's 2 years, 4 years, 3 years.
Or should it be any number of years? Given that how fast
now
careers are evolving.
Part-time?
Part-time for 20 years maybe. You take a subscription to a university. You keep going and coming out. Everyone
I still feel there's value to a cohort-based learning. Now again, but an EMBA, for example, right, where you learn on weekends or on a modular basis, that has a cohort. So I think you can play with formats, Pratham. I'm not against that at all. There are a lot of people, for example, there is a very funny thing now. So to be a startup founder, you have to be a college dropout. The statistics don't actually back that up. But it's very sexy to say, I'm a college dropout.
Makes for a great
So movie, I'm a founder. Real hoga isme. Right? But the truth is, for example, if you look at there was a recent thing that came out, they looked at the top 100 unicorns in India. 60% of them were IITs or IIMs or the top foreign universities. 80% of them had founders who actually had a very good education. So it doesn't play out, but it's a very nice thing to say. So I really believe, for example, okay, let's make it personal. If I were to give advice to my kids, right, they're 12 and 10, what would I tell them? I would say, Baba, do whatever you want in life, but get a proper, whether it's 3 years, 2 years, 4 years.
Or whether it's a degree or whether it's a diploma, that doesn't matter.
I would, I'm a big fan of Tetr, right? Because that's exposure, right? You're in a cohort, you're going to different places, it's life experiences. Get that early in your career.
So would you get your kids to Tetr?
Potentially, yes. I'm an investor, no, Baba. Obviously, I believe in the model.
No, but other universities
I believe in you.
Not to Bristol in Bombay?
Huh? See, as you will realize, when you have kids make up their own minds. So we as parents can tell them many things. Do you have kids? No. Trust me on this.
But what other formats do you see? Anything interesting in education?
I love Tetr. It's a great model. I think there's a format where people go away for a gap year. You've seen that as well. In fact, there's a format where people do the first year of university outside and then join university from the second year onwards. I'm a big fan of the co-op model, right, where you're actually learning a little bit but working as well. The apprentice model as well. We don't talk about that much in India. But do you actually have to be in a classroom? You can be doing stuff and learning. Right? I mean, I love MIT saying mens et manus, minds and hands. All of these models, I think, will come to play.
Yeah, and with AI, I mean, so much more is possible with online.
Hey, why AI? Why is everything AI? Even without AI, you can do all of this.
But with that, there's so much more that you can do, right? You feel like, so, I mean, you've seen the new 11 Labs release yesterday. Did you guys see that?
I haven't.
So 11 Labs released this version of the voice model where the AI will actually understand whether you're frustrated, whether you're excited, the way you're speaking, and will adjust its own emotion as per your emotion. Right? So that's taking it to a whole different level. It's not about accents anymore. It's about understanding the sentiment and then changing yourself. And I think that gives you the ability to almost act like a professor. Right? I can hear in your voice that you're a little bit confused.
Highly skeptical. Now, why would I want to act like a professor?
No, the AI can.
No, the AI can do it. So look, I get that. AI can do many things, but maybe I'm old school in this. But at least from my education background, there is something to be said of being in a social setting, natural social setting, nothing to do with AI, and just learning from each other's experiences. I think that is one of the things that you get in any good education, right? So that I think is the core. Now around that you can build all of these experiences, right? And that I'm a very big fan of. In fact, that's what we also go to our university and say, you define the core, we'll build stuff around it. But I think it's both hand in hand.
In the US, for example, there's so many students from good schools, right, who decide not to go to university at all. Right? They say the university is actually completely useless. We get a lot of those students in Tetr, and you guys might be here, who decided not to go to university at all. But then they saw Tetr, they're like, oh, this makes sense. Let me try this.
But Tetr it's not a university, but you're giving the same experiences in a much higher quality, cohort-based stuff, no?
No, totally. I'm saying that still there are, 20,000 universities globally still teaching in that traditional way, right? There's one Tetr and 20,000 of those. So do you think that, like in the US, you will see other countries also where students will just stop trusting in higher education and say, boss, I will do this on my own. To learn coding or to learn some skill is not necessary that I go to a school, university, college.
See, there are 60 million students in universities across the world.
60 million?
60 million.
No, it must be more.
In universities.
No, in India only it's 40 million.
No, sorry, 60 million graduate from university every year.
Fair.
Okay, sorry. So if I think about that number, will this change happen over a period of time? Yes. But there's always a place in that for universities as well. Right? So even if you read Crossing the Chasm, there will be early adopters, right? And I think there should be more models like Tetr, and more power to you. You should become bigger, more global, do more stuff. But I think the university education will be there. But that will also get disrupted. So of the 20,000 you're saying in the US, there are 4,000 universities. Last year, 400 shut down. You take India as an example. Any state you go, Maharashtra, Haryana, there's so many engineering colleges that have they have seats, but they don't have students. So the market is already telling them something, right? So there is disruption that's happening with universities. The bigger the brand, they perhaps will survive it longer. But look, I think I'm a person who likes to think positively. I also think universities are becoming more innovative. Take ASU as an example, right?
I love it. My favorite university in the world
is
not Harvard, Wharton, it's ASU, Arizona State University. I would say that.
No, that's a real comment that you just made. But the point is, the leader there, President Crow, is like you. Or you're like him. But they're innovative. They want to do things in a different way. And then he's shaken up a university, right? The kind of stuff that they're doing. So they're teaching, for example, what was that, biology or something like that. You go into that. They have a tie-up with DreamWorks. So you go into this setup. Have you been to that? I think you have. And you actually feel like you're on some other planet. You can see dinosaurs. You can navigate that. It's visual. It's 3D. It's VR, AR, all of that. And you're actually learning by experiencing.
Virtually.
Right? You're grounded, but it's virtual. Right? And it's just the investment and the thinking behind how to take learning to the next level. Right?
That part I felt gimmicky thoda वैसे.
Chal Baba, nobody can make you happy. But the point is, you get what I'm saying, right? So universities are also innovating. Even in India, you're starting to see universities are also starting. You're doing experiments at LPU as well. So look, I think universities also will move where ultimately the students go. But yes, the rate of that will be slower because they're just stuck down more by regulation. By the way, is a big part of it. Second is just the size of what they are.
You've been working with the government so much. You put up a photo with the CM every day.
You work with the government far more than I do.
How many photos with the CM have you put in the last 2 months? Like 15?
No. What
must be at least. Every new university that comes in Bombay, then a nice CM photo that comes.
So only 4 universities have come to Bombay. So 4 at
No.
best.
First the MOU gets signed, then the LOI gets signed, then the ad gets passed, then the land gets approval, then the what stone laying happens, and then the inauguration, all pictures. This much I know.
I've started dressing also like this.
Exactly.
So,
Modi ji jacket also you've taken. Huh?
this used to be called Nehru jacket, now it's become Modi jacket.
Correct. So, do you see the government also a little bit having a vision of the future?
I definitely, Pratham. I mean, like I've said, I mean it seriously. You and your family has worked with the government far more, so you can probably answer this better. But at the center, the fact that, we've been talking about foreign university in India since 2010 maybe. But the fact that this government actually passed the regulation to allow it, and honestly has been very progressive in actually facilitating it. And our interaction with them has always been positive. And I say that truthfully, though you may sound skeptical, I don't know. So that's true. And then in the states, look, there I would say some states are far more progressive. So in Maharashtra, the Chief Minister Fadnavis is the day this regulation got passed for foreign universities, a week later, his office came and said, we want to make Maharashtra number one. This is for foreign universities. This is the Chief Minister's vision. And I had known them because I was part of that team organization, Tech Entrepreneurs Association of Mumbai. And then with CM said, okay, every foreign university that wants to come, I will meet them. Right? So last week, for example, Bristol announced a scholarship for the Chief Minister. It's called the Chief Minister's Maharashtra Chief Minister's Scholarship, where 10 students from Maharashtra will get a 3-year undergrad education free. And those children would actually come from state board schools or government schools, basically. It was cabinet session, and the Chief Minister was also the finance minister because his colleague Ajit Pawarji had unfortunately passed away. He took time to meet them to announce that. So when you get leadership like that, you obviously do more with them, and you've seen this. And then there are some states where the leadership is indifferent also. What to do?
All right. On that note, I want to open it up for my team, especially. Any questions? Believe me, like in education, you have like the best mind sitting here.
Best minds.
Ghar ki murgi dal barabar. But guys, anything? Yeah, please.
Thanks a bunch for taking your time and sharing the journey. It was super insightful. Just one quick question. I feel, and I think you also alluded to it, that education is an ROI sensitive topic, right? Especially in India. Education is an ROI sensitive market, right? And foreign universities coming in, they don't have that culture of spoon feeding jobs to students as opposed to typically how the Indian universities function, right? So do you think that they will also have to sort of adapt to their way of functioning?
Does Masters Union spoon feed jobs?
We enable.
So they'll also enable.
Got it.
No, we spoon feed.
I think Pratham, those days are over.
No. The one thing I'll tell you from my experience, those days are never over. Even 25 years LPU is still the same. Some things don't change.
Okay, so to answer your question more seriously, look, jobs will always be important in India, right? It's a market where per capita GDP is 2,700, and if you're paying, 10 lakhs, whatever per year, 15 lakhs, and you're obviously going to have the expectation that I must get my money back. So jobs is going to be very important. At the same time, you look at other metrics, right? For example, NASSCOM will say only 2 out of 10 engineers in India are actually employable. Right? And so I think the role that higher education should also have is that you churn out more employable students, then the jobs become a little easier. But there'll always be that fight. Yeah, it's always going to be.
A kid who's paying 15 lakhs for Southampton, let's say, or Masters Union, at the undergrad level, I'm not speaking Masters, not going to care about jobs, right?
I think some of them will care. Some of them may not. Some of them may go do their further studies, masters abroad. Some of them will go back to family business, etc. But there'll be 20-30% who will care. And even if they don't, look, the universities ultimately should create students who will be employable. It could be their own company and they're starting up, that's one segment. But you should create industry-aligned output. And in India, by the way, it's very important, Pratham, because here the student or the parent is paying for it. If you go to other markets like Europe, the state pays for it. If you go to the US, they give you Title IV loans. So you may have a $200,000 4-year undergrad program, but you're not paying that. You're paying 3% of that every year, $6,000. So ROI is very different in those markets. Very, very often people ask me, why is the Indian student so ROI focused? They pay from their pocket. Of course they will be. Any market where you pay from your pocket, you'll ask ROI. Which, by the way, is not a bad thing also, because that forces the academic institutions to also teach the topics where the market demand is.
Hi, sir. So I just read it somewhere that college rewards for what you remember and market rewards for what you predict. So as you've also told that outside the box theory that you're told, right? So let's say that there is an entrepreneur who has some great drive, but he does not actually predict the market actually. And let's say that you are a VC right now. What do you see in an entrepreneur? Is it something that he's thinking about the future, or is it just the drive that he has?
He or she or they.
He or she,
But
yeah.
I'll answer this question by giving you an example. Okay, so I'll take Pratham also. Do you know how to row a boat?
Row a boat?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't
That
know.
sounds like no. So let's say Pratham and I are on a boat, okay, and we're having a rowing competition. We are going downstream. Downstream is with the current. Let's assume there are two Olympic quality athletes, rowers, who are rowing and the boat, who are competing with us, by the way, who are rowing upstream, right? So the river's going this way, they have to row, and it's a very strong current. Who do you think will win? The two of us who really don't know how to. We just have to make sure we're on the boat, on the same boat. Okay? The current will do the rest for us. Right? Okay, we just have to not fall off. Or that great team that's rowing upstream. Who do you think will win a race?
The one going downstream. Like
Us, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
See?
You're in the same boat.
But why?
Because you're in the stream.
Because we have product market fit. So if you have product market fit, if your idea, not just, see, idea is a bad word, okay? The ideas are dime a dozen, right? But if you have an MVP, a product market fit, then you have wind in your sails. You are going downstream, right? I would anyway back that team than somebody who has actually no product market fit, great entrepreneurs, but they're doing something that is so shitty. There's a customer acquisition cost is higher than lifetime value. However good you are, I mean, it's a red ocean, you're going to die. But by the way, what the VCs really want is they want those two professional rowers rowing downstream. Then you're a winner.
Hi sir, this is a bit out of box question, but since we're discussing about the higher education, and I wanted to know about schooling. Like personally, I feel why there should be 1st to 10th and all this, and there should be, because there are innovative schools out there around the globe. India, I don't find it that much. But since you said that there should be certain base that comes with a college degree or with the traditional education, do you think that schools need to be more innovative rather than being the same curriculum?
So I allow Pratham, probably his next idea will be to disrupt schools as well.
No.
So-
That's I can't do that.
What?
I'll tell you later. That's one thing I can't do.
All right. So the answer is, see, when you phrase a question and you say, do you think schools should be innovative? Nobody can say no to that. I'm just saying. So the answer is yes, but then the devil is in the details also. Because, for example, if you go to a very innovative school that is not CBSE or ICSE, then how will you get to college? Parents will have this concern. Right? If it's not IB curriculum, then what about the future of my kid? For example, I went to a Krishnamurti Foundation school. I don't know if you heard of J.D. Krishnamurti. We had no exams till 8th standard. Right? There are still some schools, for example, the Montessori system, some of these German schools, etc. They don't have exams. In fact, when kids make, in 4th grade, 5th grade, they make spelling mistakes, they don't correct. Because they say phonetically, if you get it right, it doesn't matter. And yet there'll be so many people who will say, "Hey, ye bakwas school hai. That guy can't even write." Right? And so this is the challenge that we have to, and again, I would come back and say, yes, there should be more innovation. It'll, like that crossing the chasm thing, it'll be the first 2% of the students that, or the parents who will accept that more. See, one of the things that makes the US so special is, as a society, they're far more open to embracing ideas and taking risk. India, again, changing, but we hold on to the past a lot. So those early customers, those early adopters, which is very important for an innovation ecosystem, right? We find less in India. Plus, you add a layer of that. See, innovation sometimes also has costs attached to it. Right? If you want to build more experiential learning, you have to travel a lot more, etc. There's a cost of delivering that. So you layer that in India. It's a tougher thing to do, not impossible to do. So you will perhaps see a lot more of these coming in other parts of the world and then to India. But simple answer is yes, there should be more. Hopefully, some of you in this room will become entrepreneurs in education. Right?
No, I strongly believe that. I mean, I think from the PGP cohort every year, 2 new colleges or schools are coming out.
But are they doing anything new or the same thing?
No, everyone's trying to. So we had last year a very interesting...
That was a joke, yeah.
Again, example. I'll answer your question with an example. Student who's building a fashion business school and doing really good. at it, right? There's someone from the PGP cohort last year who's building a very interesting school, after school program. She eventually wants to get into school, and it's called Board of School. Does that make sense? B-O-R-E-D, not B-O-A-R-D.
No, there's a lot you can do. For example, I funded, as an angel investor, a company called Rhapsody Music. I don't know if you know Anil Srinivasan. So he's actually a piano player, very famous guy. But he's trying to teach math to school children through music. It's a very interesting thing if you think about it pedagogically. It's actually possible because all of our music is set to a scale. Scale has math, teen tal, every, you understand it, there are 8 octaves. So you can actually use, so a lot of music has math. Now, but the first time I heard this, I thought this guy was on some drugs or whatever, right? But then he demonstrated. It's phenomenal, and I can imagine kids would love math if they were taught that way. But they're not taught that way. But that's a company that so to answer your question, I put money where I feel there's conviction. But how do you bring that at a larger scale? These are still, if you ask me, these are still experiments.
Thanks. So basically the question is that do you see in the next decade or so there's space for more specialists or generalists? And how would you describe your individual self as? Like, did you adapt basis what the company wanted when it wanted? Or was there some superpower that you had and you always doubled down on that?
And some context to that question, we were just having this debate last week as to what should be the future of our MBA program look like. And then we were divided on the fact, on this point exactly, are we creating generalists or specialists?
See, it's a very difficult question to answer. But let me tell you the Harvard Business School answer. So Harvard Business School has a general MBA. We don't have an MBA in business analytics, finance, etc. I think Wharton, etc. have those specialties. So the idea is, look, let all the other schools train the specialists. We'll go and manage them. That's my answer.
But what do you think is, who do you want to hire? Like who do you want to back?
So there is no right answer. It varies so much by industry, stage. But I'll tell you one thing. Early in your careers, you're probably more specialized. Later in your careers, you're really managing people, right? It just boils down to that. Of course, you have ideas. Of course, you have to understand the tech and the domain and all of that. But I think a good leader, you can take them from one domain. Like I did travel. I can do education. I mean, I can't do some stuff. Like you asked me to do gaming. Maybe that would be against my value system, so it would be horrible. But I could probably run a bank because I have some experience. So you can put me in different domains. I can probably I say again, because who knows. But early in your career, it's probably important to get specialized skills.
I think the context of his question is more like, are you a marketing person or a finance person versus are you a travel person or an education person? Right?
Again, I find it very difficult. I'm really saying, and one of the other good things that I've learned about myself, I can just tell you when I don't know the answer is I don't know. I don't know the answer for other people. For me, I'll tell you what I'm good at. I'm an entrepreneur. And an entrepreneur means I need to have many of these skills, not just one, right? I may have 1 or 2 superpowers or whatever you're saying. But I know, by the way, one of the superpowers an entrepreneur has, so I'll answer from an entrepreneur's perspective, is I'm pretty good in knowing what I'm bad at. There are many things that I'm bad at. And actually, it's very good to know those early in life. Then you find co-founders or early employees or investors who solve that for you. I also know what I'm good at. See, okay, let me tell you, I'm asking a slightly different question. While we spoke a little bit about product market fit, I also believe there's an entrepreneur startup fit, a founder startup fit. Right? For me to be successful, I know this. I can be successful in education. Why? I'm building long term. I believe I'm a very value-based person. And so I can build deep, trusting partnerships with universities over a long period of time, right? I can't be in gaming, I can't be in crypto. I first of all don't understand these, but it's too transactional for me to be successful there. So for me, it was important to understand my founder to startup fit, and the chances of me succeeding, chances of me being happy are far higher when I do that, right? Is that a specialized skill, generalized skill? Look, you figure it out here. I know it's not a very convincing answer, but that is the answer.
No, I think
what about you, Pratham? Specialized or generalist?
No, fully generalist. Because I feel like AI will do a lot of the specialty stuff. Right? And we're not far into the future. I mean, maybe next year we will have lots of companies which are single individual companies. In the sense they have one employee, and that one employee is managing a bunch of agents and building large organizations with that. Right?
So that's easy for us to say when we've started companies, right? But let's say your early career, just finished a master's or something in AI, computer science. Somebody has to build that AI. That person is a specialist.
You'll need some specialists, but more generalists.
So the Harvard Business School view of the world is the best. We'll manage as a generalist, but you need specialists. Somebody has to build that. It's not going to build itself.
No,
Maybe
I
one
think
day.
for our MBA program in that context, I am more along with what HBS stood for, I guess.
That was a joke because they were teaching a general management program, so how do you spin it?
That's how you spin it.
But many of these questions, it's tough to give a simple answer because it depends.
Do you think research funds are used well?
Oh, Baba.
I think a fair question.
Well, you can again look. You can step back and ask this for anything and everything.
Which is what a podcast is for, no?
You can so here's my answer. You can ask this for anything and everything. There are metrics, by the way, where you measure output on research, Pratham, as you know. So I think the answer is always mixed. I would say a lot of the 80 billion that goes to the US actually goes to medical schools. And there, the success rate of a drug discovery, etc., is very low. So it's very difficult to measure. But I would rather look at commercialization. And I don't have data on that, but I would again there come back and say that the technologies that come out of US universities, the commercialization potential of that is very significant. So I'll give you an example of this. I'm not answering your question. I think it can be better, perhaps. The University of Liverpool, we're working with them, so I have data for them. So they have built an 80 million pound research lab with Unilever, okay, on their campus. So 20 of their faculty, 200 Unilever employees sit there and do fundamental materials research, because that goes into all the food and the other stuff that Unilever does. And every year, about $500 million, and Unilever has published this, 500 million pounds, sorry, they attribute 500 million pounds of revenue to research and patents that have come out of that lab. Now that is where I think universities, you should think about them. You say they're not innovative, but under all of those layers is actually hardcore innovation linked to commercial success. So I would actually like to look at metrics that look at commercialization, right, the rupee or the dollar value of that, and use that to measure the investment ROI of research. Now, to be fair, yes, universities can do better and
for everything. Yeah. No, I mean, International Space Station is 50% built by NASA, 50% by some 50 universities, 1%, including ASU, where I learned this. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm coming from the past USSR country, basically, and out there, the education level, I think the awareness about the new colleges is very low. So, like, I saw the students, and I saw that, like, almost in every of them, they have, like, the entrepreneurial spark, and they want to build something. But as I was telling them about Tetr, and as I was lucky to be in Tetr, they didn't believe and they didn't have the trust, I would say. And I just want to ask both of you the question is how to build the trust in the students, because in many countries people want to do it, but they don't see the faith in that education.
Well, look, I think you need the fact that people are skeptical, there's a reason for that, right? There have been many people who come and make tall claims and then disappear. So you have to understand that first. The second is the best way for anybody to become from a non-believer to a believer is experience, right? And I'm sure Pratham will do this. Invite some of the students' parents to some of the classes. When tomorrow you go on to do great things and you tell more people, then they will believe. But experience is actually, I think, very often we try to convince people, but we realize we can't. You have to get them to taste that, get a taste of what you're trying to say. So that's what I would do, and I'm sure you guys are already doing that.
Yeah, I'm traveling to 7 cities starting next week, meeting all of the prospective students like I probably did you guys. That's the only way. You have to build trust in the beginning through brute force, literally show them the campus, make them meet the founder, the team, the alumni. I'm sure you also are helping us with You were there, yeah. So this is what you have to do in the first few months, first few years, first few cycles, and then with Masters Union, I've seen now that we're entering our 6th year, things are a lot more organic, right? Things sort of flow by themselves because the trust has been built and not lost over a period of time.
Have any of you flown a kite? Okay. Have you flown a kite? So 0 to 1, getting that kite off the ground is the toughest thing to do. After that, getting a little higher, somewhat easy, then you can even tie it, it'll kind of fly by itself. So 0 to 1 is always the toughest thing for a startup. 1 to 10, somewhat easier. Thereafter, you got your product market fit, things are far easier.
Pratham, can I ask you one question?
Yeah,
just
please.
Personally, thank you. So Do you think that Tetr, like in the future, not in the meantime, in the future as a perspective, can become a monopoly, like can stay in the market as a monopoly, like I mean in university innovation? Like
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Because firstly, the travel-based education, it's not patented, right? And already there are universities that have taken inspiration from what Tetr is doing and creating these travel-based programs. And by the way, before us, there were other universities that were doing it too, right? And I always give this example of in the 1500s, we had the Grand Tour, right? Where Thomas Cook used to actually run these 4-year Grand Tours for rich people across the world. Their kids would go on this tour of Europe. So, no, not at all. And education is not a winner-takes-all market. It's not like Uber or DoorDash or Swiggy or Zomato, right? Where one large company is going to eat up the entire pie. It's always going to be a bunch of small, doing their own little thing. The way we have, 20,000, 40,000 universities in the world, I think they all will have a little bit of Tetr in them. I think that would be success for us. The agenda is never to be a monopolistic university. I don't think it's even possible.
It's going to be a father of this education, basically, in the future, hopefully.
That's saying too much, but not in front of him. You can't say that.
I'm so sorry.
I'm not a fan. I'm very happy if that. I mean, honestly, I think there should be more access to high quality education. I don't think one university, one model can do all of that. But I think there will be Tetr in every one of these. I like that line very much.
Yeah. There's Eruditus in every
But I think, let me just say this also as we come to the end of this, is that when you have big, bold ideas, you actually make significant change. I think Masters Union, just go back to when it was started. If somebody had described to me Masters Union Pratham and said this will work, I'd say, "Hey, yaar, come on, who's going to believe this?" Right? That was the mindset. I mean, before that there was ISB. I don't know if the Indian School of Business, and those people who started it, they said, okay, we don't want to be a university because we don't want all this regulation to tell us what we want to do. We want to do what it is. But that moved the university kind of thing this much. Now Pratham has taken it here, and his thing is always moving. Then with Tetr, it's like, out there. And so for many of you in this room, I think, if at all, what you can imagine and execute. And I would really focus your attentions on that. There is a lot that's to be done in education. We can't do this. It'll take, how do I say this, thousands, millions of entrepreneurs, across K-12, higher ed, test prep, extracurricular, soft skills, so many things. So really, if some of you decide that you want to do this, go for it. You have a role model here that has already shown the way of how to do that, but more power to you. And the thing about education is you actually change lives. Right? You make that one person an entrepreneur, they'll employ 1,000 people, and you've just changed 1,000 lives. At I feel at least there are very few places that I could be spending my time that has that amplification on changing lives.
Yes, thank you so much, because I think that we are, as students, like me personally, what I learned in Tetr, like I feel like I really want to share it, like with people from my hometown, just with people on the internet. It's just, I think it's something new that we open here, like throughout this course and like throughout this experience, that has a potential to be shared and has a potential to maybe become in a new forms, as Pratham mentioned as well.
Okay, last.
Looking from the outside, what can we do better as masters in Tetr?
Great.
But I'm actually kind of looking from inside, no?
He has the inside.
But I would say this, which is how many students are you up to now? 1,000 undergrad plus?
Total, everything put together, 4,000.
At Masters Union?
Masters Union plus Tetr.
No, just Masters Union.
3,500.
Yeah, so great, 3,500. Next milestone probably 10,000. Then up to 50,000 ja sakte hain. Yeah, I don't want you to fall off the cliff and have all of those issues. No, but look, I think it's naive of me to even try to attempt this answer. Pratham knows he's already cooking 100 ideas in his mind.
No, but you've been on the journey twice over that we are on.
Pratham, I could never have done Masters Union. The effort that I know that he put in to make sure that every student was interviewed, every student was placed, the fact that he would call up all of these CEOs of McKinsey, Accenture, Bain to get people placed. I can't do that. I have different skill sets, right? So
I wish I could raise $400 million, yeah.
The point is, he was so profitable, he didn't have to raise money only.
Okay, guys, thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you, Ashwin.
Thank you, Pratham, for having me.
This was awesome. Honestly, I prepare notes. I always have like a file with me. He knows. But this time it was freewheeling. Thank you for being so open, honest, and for engaging with my humor as much
I
as
love
it
your
comes.
humor.
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thank you so much.